So, welcome to Beyond the Strikes, and I'm delighted to say we're joined by John De Jesus. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. I'm training hard, working out, doing what I got to do to get back in that cage and be successful again.
Yeah, do you have a nice Christmas and New Year?
I did, man. I did. I hung out with the family, got the little man some gifts, and just relaxed.
Yeah, it's always such a nice time to kind of just unwind a bit before. It always feels like as soon as that January the 1st hits, it like everything just goes a bit crazy again. Is it the same for you and the training?
Yeah, 100%, man. The main goal is to get back in that cage and do what I love.
So, first questions are where did you grow up and how did you get into combat sports?
I grew up in Hollywood, Florida. And the way I got into combat sports was actually just having a good old time with my friends and doing some boxing for a while. And found out I was pretty good. I had a long reach. I was pretty fast. A buddy of mine who actually did training, did mixed martial arts for American Top Team was like, "Hey man, you're a natural at this. You should go look into joining a gym and just having some fun there." So I did
Yeah.
that on American Top Team Davie in Hollywood, Florida, and never looked back.
Yeah, and what a team to be part of. And did you always like MMA, or you mentioned boxing? Were you kind of was that like your first love watching boxing, or did you always watch MMA?
No, man, we're just a bunch of hooligans that like beating on things, honestly. I think I even knew anything about MMA. And I was just an aggressive youngin, trying to have some fun with the boys. And after that, shortly after that, I started following the UFC and watching all the fights, the MMA fights and everything like that, and then got into it.
Can you remember the first fight you saw in the UFC and just thought, you know what, this is really for me?
Honestly, that was so long ago, and I was at the time. But no, I don't know exactly what my first fight was, but it was around the era. To tell you what the era was. BJ Penn had just
Mhm.
fought Sean Shirk, I believe, for the title. Um, Around that era, dude, right before GSP,
Yeah.
Anderson Silva was taking off. Around that era is when I got into MMA.
Yeah. And did you have any like particular fighters that you just thought like I just wanna be like you guys?
Right, honestly, my very first fighter that I looked up to was Anderson Silva.
Mm.
Silva was doing wild things in that cage and making it look easy, making it look fun. That just got my attention right away.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting how many fighters I speak to who Anderson Silva has influenced. It's incredible actually. And have you been watching him box? Did you watch the fight he had quite recently?
For sure, I was pleasantly surprised, man. I was like, I don't know, man. You're up there in age. You were always a kicker. Your hands were always good, but your thing was kicks and knees and things like that, and Muay Thai clinch. So I was a little nervous for him, but he went in there. He took care of business. You looked
He
great.
did. Yeah, he looked really good. And do you know what? Like as an MMA fan, and the amount of stick we've kind of been getting from all the kind of Jake Paul stuff, like it was so refreshing to see him go in and look so good. It was brilliant.
100%, man. 100%. I was almost.
Yeah. How do you feel about the kind of Jake Paul big events that he's been putting on? Because it's kind of getting a really like mixed response. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's quite an interesting one.
Well, I can tell the kid's putting in work. I can tell he went from absolutely nothing, and I could see his evolution right in front of us. If you actually pay attention to his game, you can see his evolution. And I can respect someone who's actually putting in the work. He's actually getting in there, he's actually fighting. At first I thought it was just a joke, but I like the part that I'm seeing from his end of him getting better. That's all
Mm.
we do as MMA fighters, as boxers, as just combat athletes, is we go to the gym and we strive to get better each and every day. And that's what he's doing. I can respect that because that's what I do each and every day. So
Yeah, and I feel like it was a bit of a tipping point, second Woodley fight, where I kind of noticed a slight change in people's attitudes in terms of like you can't really ignore him or write him off as much anymore because to do it to someone like Tyrone Woodley twice, it's impressive. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've been impressed with how much it looks like he's growing in there. And I'm interested to see what he's going to be doing this year. I mean, there's some huge names that are going around. I'm not quite sure he's going to end up getting the names that he's talking about, but I think there's some great fights out there for him, particularly Anderson Silva. I would love to see that one.
I would absolutely love to watch Anderson Silva smack Jake Paul. I would take my money. I'm ready.
I know the pay-per-view buys would be incredible. It'll be brilliant.
I'm ready.
And so we as a team here, we're always really interested in fighter nicknames, and you've got one of the more unique ones that we've seen. So can you run us through your nickname? And like, I'm hoping I'm getting the pronunciation right. So Platano, is that correct?
Oh, you were so close. You were so close. It's Plátano.
Ah. And what's the background behind this one?
So, as a boy, I'm Dominican, by the way.
Hmm.
And that's what my mother used to tell me when I used to play baseball. She used to tell me, eat your plantains. That's what Plátano stands for, plantains. Eat your plantains. Eat your plantains so you can hit a home run. Eat your plantains so you can have power. So my whole life, I put together plantains and power. You eat your plantains, you gain power. So no matter what I do in life, I could be playing tennis. If I want to hit a hard backhand, I need to go eat my plantains real quick. So that's all it is, man. It's Plátano power for life.
I absolutely love that. It's amazing. Like you hear so many different fight names, and like you kind of think, oh, I've got an idea where it came from, and then you literally realize you've got absolutely no idea where it came from. Oh, I absolutely love it. So next round is just a bit about outside the cage, and outside of MMA, who would you say is your biggest inspiration in the world of sport?
Outside of MMA, oof, that's a tricky one. So, well, mm, outside of combat sports,
Hmm.
or outside of combat
So I'm
sports.
guessing you go for a boxer.
Yeah, I was gonna go for a boxer. I absolutely love Muhammad Ali, but if you're going on outside of combat sports, my whole life revolves around combat sports, so I really don't look up to. Oh, yes, there's one player that I've always looked up to. He's an NBA basketball player, and his name is Dwyane Wade. From
Okay.
Miami Heat.
Yeah, and is there anything in particular about him that you've kind of that really resonates with you?
Yeah, before I got into MMA, I was really into basketball, baseball, everything sport really. But
Hmm.
sport I followed the most was basketball and football, but mainly basketball. So when I used to be a fan, no, I still am a fan, but when I used to watch Dwayne Wade, because he's retired now, I used to be glued to that TV and watch that man work each and every day with not the best team, because Miami Heat has never been the best team in the world, but they were always the most hardworking team out there. Just like the Miami Dolphins, just like Dustin Poirier and fighting. Like I'm always into that underdog role. And
Mm.
that's what Dwayne Wade was to me. And then he won those three championships, so it was over.
And I think it's kind of like being British, we love the underdog. Like no matter what, if we're ever supporting someone, it's always the underdog on it. It's like there's something very special about that underdog story where the underdog kind of like the Rocky, isn't it? It's a Rocky of any sort of sport. Everyone loves seeing the underdog winning.
100%, man. My whole career has been an underdog story. Every fight you see me, I'm the underdog. I'm either shocked in the world or it is what it is, like my last fight where the dude holds me down for a round to win the fight. But either way, I'm in there. I'm grinding. I'm going against the best in the world. And I'm usually the underdog, and I absolutely love that role.
Yeah, and we love watching you in that role. It's always fun. Your fights are always fun. I think that's like it's such a huge thing in combat sports to be an entertaining fighter. Like the fans love to watch you fight, so we appreciate you for that. And then in terms of like when you're fighting, do you have any superstitions that you always do before a fight?
So they're not superstitions, but something I still struggle to this day with is um managing nervousness.
Hmm.
You would think I'm over here talking about I'm in the back freaking out. I'm so nervous. This, that, and the third. I'm getting cold feet. I'm actually talking about the exact opposite, if that makes any sense. When I'm in the back in the day, early on in my career, I used to get butterflies. I used to get so nervous, and it used to even freak me out at times, but then I go out and perform. These days, I feel like I've done it so many times. I don't have that feeling in my stomach like that I'm about to throw up anymore. It's too comfortable. So
Hmm.
and fights has actually worked out for me. Like the McCappell fight was the same thing. I was very comfortable backstage. I wasn't nervous at all. I went out there, I handled business, and it was a wrap. And I like the feeling. This time around, I'm over here in the background doing what I do, getting ready backstage, doing what I do, getting ready for this fight. And I feel no jitters. I feel no nervousness. I feel like I can go take a nap. Like that doesn't make any sense. So I'm still struggling with that. Even what 23 fights as a professional, and still struggling with that. Still getting better at it. I think it's a mental aspect of the game, but I'll master it. And that's you know, that's life.
Yeah, and I guess it has its benefits in terms of like it's good to be afraid sometimes, but also you can burn off a lot of energy if you're afraid, and kind of you can be in the back, and by the time you get out there, you're kind of a bit like you've fretted so much that you're kind of not in a perfect shape. So I guess it's that balance really. And do you think it's come from experience that having all of the fights under your belt that you can kind of you feel a lot more relaxed out there?
100%. I just don't know if it's a great thing. I
Mm.
kind of want jitters back. That's what I'm saying. I kind of want some of those nervousness, some of those on edge jitters to get me acting right, to get me in that mindset. But again, it's a mental thing. I think it can be good that I'm so calm out there. I think it could absolutely be a very good thing that I'm just poised and doing what I do best. I just have to learn how to manage it.
Mm. Yeah, makes complete sense. So next round we have for you is called the hypothetical round. And the question we've got is you have the power to change one thing in MMA. What would it be? And it could be absolutely anything you want.
I don't have to think about this one. Judge it. Judge
Yeah,
it.
okay, good. I like this. Go on then, explain what's the judging that you'd like to change?
What I'd like to change in judging is every judge has to have some kind of experience. Now
Hmm.
you don't got to go out there and be a professional fighter. You don't have to follow the sport that hard to know what's going on in there. But have some training in you. Have at least 2 years of training in you. Have some amateur fighting. If you've been a pro, that's even better. But have some kind of knowledge of exactly to the second of what's going on in that cage. So where you can't see a guy take another guy down and hold him down, but then the other guy he throws up some submission attempts and is a little more active on the ground. He elbows you a little more, but then the other guy gets a 10-9. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see judges knowing what they're looking at when they're watching
Mm,
a.
I
Actually,
love that.
judges that care, man. Judges that are passionate about the sport, just like we are.
What about open scoring? So, like judges at the end of each round, fighters knowing if they're up or down. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that one. Honestly, I see both sides of the argument. I see the guy who won 2 rounds and decides he wants to keep it safe in that third round, and he wants to fight. I see the other judgment or the other side of the coin where the guy doesn't know anything and he goes in there and shows his heart, which is
Hmm.
what we should all be doing at the end of the day, anyways. But some fighters, we're not all built the same. If you get my drift.
Yeah.
Um, so I could see both ends of the coin. I'm leaning towards open scoring. Just because me as a personal fighter, I will never take my foot off the gas, not
Hmm.
even if I'm up. But that's just me as a fighter. You can't ask 100 fighters and get 100 of the same responses. So as me as a fighter, the way I know I fight, I wouldn't mind knowing I'm up to zilch. I still want to go out there. I still want to finish. I still want to perform. Because at the end of the day, you want the fans to be happy. They're paying for the tickets, and you want them to be your fans. So
yes. So I'm going to give you two options, and I just need you to give me one answer. Are you ready?
yes, let's do it.
Okay, so striking or grappling?
Striking all day.
Robots or dinosaurs?
I'm gonna go with dinosaurs.
A KO win in the first 5 seconds of a fight, or a KO win in the last 5 seconds of a fight?
Both. I'll take a KO win at any time of the fight.
Nice. To be rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Again, I'm gonna go with the rich part, man. I don't care if I'm famous or unknown as long as I'm rich.
And then final question, superhero or supervillain?
I'm gonna go with the hero.
Like it. Like it. So it's been a real pleasure catching up with you. And final question is, when can we see you back in the cage again?
I'm looking to get back in there March or April. I've been doing a lot of most of the world don't know what I've been doing in the last few months because I'm not too active on social media. I'm not too loud about my actions and things like that. I just do. But in the middle of my last camp, I was in the process of checking out Denver, Colorado, and training at the Factory X team. And I went out there. I tried out for the team. I made the team. So I'm picking up my family and my stepson, and we're moving to Colorado. And I was in the middle of doing that, while in fight camp. I'm getting all the work, and it's not an excuse at all. But this is just where I was in the mental space. In that fight camp, I was doing it. I'm still doing it. I'm about to list my house here in a week or two, and we're picking up and we're moving to Colorado and we're winning fights, man. That's what the goal is for 2022 is to win fights.
Yeah, well, honestly, we can't wait to see you back in action. Like we love watching you fight. We've had a really fun week this week just watching your fights. So it's been great.
Nice, man. I appreciate you guys that follow me, that watch my grind and my story because it's the true underdog story. I started my career 0-2 or something like that. I've been beat. I've been only been TKO'd once, but I've been beat. I've been submitted, and I'm still in here grinding. I'm still performing at the highest level, and I'm only getting better.